Welcome inside episode 684 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains on a game day. The Ottawa Senators are in New York, ready to take on the Rangers after falling to them on Wednesday in Ottawa.
And we put out a mailbag tweet at Sens Central, and a lot of listeners put in their questions, and we're going to get to most of those later on in this episode.
All that, and Alex Formenton did not sign before yesterday's 5 p.m. deadline. What's next there? It's all brought to you by BetOnline.net. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. Visit BetOnline. It's where the game starts. And now the show starts. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Friday, December 2nd. The show is free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where the best way you can help the show grow is to like every video by clicking the thumbs up and subscribing to the Locked On Senators channel. The road to 5,000 continues. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Oh boy, Pilsy. We got the DJ Smith quote that I was very nervous we would. A decision on defense will be made at game time.
Yeah, we were really hoping all the decisions had already been made, and number 22 coming up was more of a formality rather than an actual possibility that he would be playing for the Ottawa Senators again. But, I mean, is it really going to change that much? Like, this team's defense is terrible already, and if it's a swap of Holden and Zaitsev, I don't think it's too critical in a short-term period here, although Holden and Brandy played really well last game. That's one of the things I highlighted in the postcast. Their Corsi numbers were through the roof. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think you were onto something when we mentioned last episode that back-to-back situation. We're likely going to get DJ saying, hey, it's a back-to-back, wanted to switch out some of the legs on the defense here. So don't be surprised if we see number 22 tonight or tomorrow.
I think the funniest part is Darren Dreger tweeting out, oh, it's just Deb. Like, who reached out from the Senators to Darren and be like, hey, can you, throw a wet towel on this fire?
Yeah.
Can you please? Only to have it be the next, what are the betting odds at betonline.net for Zaitsev to play? It has to be over 50%.
Yeah, we'll talk to our friends over at BetOnline, and we'll get that as a fun prop for the people.
All right, we've got more of a game day preview coming up later on. Locked On, lookout players. What happened on Wednesday that can be rectified into turning into a better result in New York against a Rangers team that the only thing I had to change out of their lineup card that we'll bring over is they're no longer on a 3-game losing streak thanks to playing the Ottawa Senators, and the Senators have now lost after winning 2 games in a row. But all that's coming up a little bit later. Let's put a final piece to the puzzle of what we know with the Alex Formenton RFA situation. We've got some stick taps to give out overseas, and then our mailbag, which already has over 40 replies on Twitter.
Awesome.
We appreciate everyone. Some fun questions, some serious ones, some Belleville talk, all of that coming up on today's show. Pilsy, no surprise. Alex Formenton did not sign by 5 p.m. He is only eligible to play outside of North America this season. I mean, he can play beer league probably, I guess. But if he's playing pro hockey, it's in Europe, it's in Russia. But it sounded like there were some trade talks throughout the day.
Yeah, the rumor is that Vegas, which we talked about, we were kind of humming and hawing, does this make sense? But apparently, according to Drager, that they were really looking at things here.
Saravelli.
Oh, Saravelli. I thought it was Drager. Sorry. My apologies, Frank, for losing that scoop on you. So according to Frank Saravelli, that there could have been a trade here. The Senators were asking for a second-round pick. That wasn't enough to get things done, and ultimately the deadline comes and passes, and Alex Formenton will not play in the NHL this season.
And ironically, it was a second-round pick that Ottawa used to select Alex Formenton back in 2017, a piece they got from the Calgary Flames in exchange for Curtis Lazar. again, we don't know anything else other than the fact that the London police and the NHL are corroborating their stories, their investigations, trying to come out with a joint statement if there will be any punishment for the players involved in the alleged incident that took place in London in 2018, or was it, in late 2018 after the World Juniors at that banquet. So no Alex Formenton this season with the Ottawa Senators. That is done, sealed, signed, delivered. They will keep his rights, though, going forward, as they did qualify him last summer. All right, moving overseas to some happier news. Oscar Pettersson, Pistol Pete. Are we qualifying this as a Sens Central bump?
Yeah, of course we are. Hell yeah.
He scores his first SHL goal, a beauty. Like, where else was he going to score but off a rush on a shot, right?
That's Pistol Pete.
So he had a goal and an assist, played a career high almost 12 minutes. And for an SHL rookie, a teenager,
That's
was
huge.
awesome to see.
Yeah.
Awesome to see, man. This guy, I know he's our guy. He's a friend of the show, but he's got some legit skill that we're going to see. He's an NHLer one day in my books.
Nice. I love it. I mean, it's really hard to kind of tell this early, but I'd say things are looking very good for Pistol Pete. That's for damn sure.
So hopefully he can keep that rolling. And great photo of him after the game. Got 2 shots on goal and an assist in a 4-2 victory over Farjestad in Thursday SHL action. So absolutely love to see that. Stick taps to him, sir. And now let's get to our mailbag, because too many good questions coming in. We don't want to wait until the next segment. I want to throw one at you right away, Pillsy, and then we'll get into a few deeper ones right off the bat. Reed asks, and it's at @LadyBrady_. Now that we're partway into this season, are you feeling any different about the Mathieu Joseph for Nick Paul trade? I tweeted out last night. Nick Paul is on an absolute heater right now. Had 2 goals yesterday, 5 goals in his last 5 games, and he's a point per game player in his last 18 games since starting the year with 5 straight games without a point.
That's a great question, and I mean, very timely to bring it up right now, as like you mentioned, Nick Paul's on the heater. But I'll say no. I still like this trade for the Ottawa Senators. Look, the Senators weren't willing to go up to the AAV that Nick Paul wanted, and Nick Paul wasn't willing to settle for the AAV that they offered. So they mutually decided it wasn't going to work. That's fine. It's a business at the end of the day, and you got to make those decisions. And I'm not so sure. Obviously, I love Nick Paul and what he does, but I'm not so sure signing him to a 7-year deal was the best course of action for the Senators, because it's great having your star players locked up long-term, but you can't lock up everyone long-term, because then if things don't go well, you're stuck with a group that can't get it done. So I prefer the Mathieu Joseph contract. It's a little shorter. It's not an overpayment in my mind. I think Joseph is going to come around. There's so much skill there. I feel like he fits into this team, and the Sens got a draft pick on top of that. So I still like the Joseph trade, but it's bittersweet seeing Nick Paul dominate in other areas.
Doing it all. And what I would say to that, though, Pillsy, is the rumor was 4 years in Ottawa, right? They were just off on the money by a little bit.
Yeah, but I think the adding more term made the money change in Tampa. You know what I mean? Like I'm not so sure that Tampa would have done that exact deal either.
Well,
But who
especially
knows?
with the Josh Norris injury is why I'd say, yeah, I'd want to redo on that, because he's a guy who can be versatile. Joseph's not playing second line center anytime soon, and that's really where they've struggled. Nick Paul's playing top 6 in Tampa. You're telling me a guy who's playing top 6 in Tampa can't play top 6 in Ottawa? I don't know. I
But
don't
it
buy
didn't
that.
really work him playing top 6 here.
Well, yeah, it's because he was centering Connor Brown and who? Stützle for a bit, I guess.
What do you think a line of Nick Paul, DeBrincat, and Batherson gets it done? And I don't know. I'm just posing the question. I'm just asking questions here.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I think when it comes to Nick Paul, it's just you know what you're going to get a little bit more than Joseph. Now, Joseph, after being scratched in San Jose, has been a lot better.
Definitely.
So hopefully keep that going, and maybe it's a moot point, but certainly Nick Paul's taken his game to a next level. Although Nick Paul lines, let's see where is he playing here with the Lightning is kind of what I want to get at. Is he is on at center between Steven Stamkos and Alex Killorn. Stamkos with his 1,000th point in last night's game. But all in all, you got to be happy for him, right? He still lives in Ottawa in the offseason. He did so much off the ice in the city as well. So it's unfortunate. And it's just, I think what really hurts is it's just another guy in a long line of players who leave Ottawa and find more success right away.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
But hey, he kept his Sens attitude going by knocking the Leafs out. So we'll always have that moment.
Yeah, we'll always have that. Doesn't sound depressing or sad at all. All right, Pillsy, let's hit a quick break and then get back to more mailbag questions. I'm going to pull up the whole list of them as well. If you're watching on YouTube, where you can find every Locked On Senators show, and you can then see all the great questions, all the great handles that they came from, and give everyone a follow as well. I want to build this community as best we can.
Love it. So today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. They were our presenting sponsor, and for a good reason. They are the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And it's not just hockey, guys. You can bet on anything. They got football. Thursday night football was, well, a Thursday night football game, but you could have had some action on it. Bills spread maybe would have been a good one to take there. And there's so many different things. There's game props. There's money line. For hockey, there's puck line. For every sport, they have whatever bet you're looking for. Basketball, golf, World Cup still going on, boxing, UFC, you name it, they got it. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Guys, it's betonline.net, where the game starts.
Game day for the Ottawa Senators, 7 p.m. Eastern at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. The Senators haven't had much success there over the last number of years. The Ottawa Senators, by the way, have now lost 4 straight games against the New York Rangers. We'll get to a full preview of that coming up right here on Locked On Senators. Thank you for joining us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You can follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators, and on TikTok at Sens Central, where we post all of our game recaps, game previews. You can find those as well on our YouTube Shorts. Lots of content coming from every angle. We've got great interviews you can go back and watch as well. And if you're wondering, hey, where's Meth? Thought he was back from Jamaica. Just taking a little breather. He'll be back joining us sooner rather than later. But let's get back to the mailbag today. And if you haven't had your say, always available in the YouTube comments as well. You can always leave a note. We'll get to those questions as we go on. And as well, you can also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We get notifications for those. So if you have any questions you want to ask us there, feel free to do that as well. All right. We've already touched on that. Sean Foisey, here's a good question, Pillsy.
Foisey.
Who's your dream guest for the podcast that you haven't had on?
We've mentioned this a couple times, and my answer is going to say the same. Danny Heatley. Danny Heatley would be such a good one because he's such a character. He's a guy that, after playing hockey, kind of like Paul Kariya, just was done with the hockey scene. You don't hear from him, you don't see him. He's not involved with any teams or anything going on. And I think it's been enough time that Sens fans have forgiven him for the way he left Ottawa. And he was a massive, massive part of this franchise's history. 50 and 07, back-to-back years. He's an epic player. So for me, it's Danny Heatley.
I like that a lot. I'll give you 2 answers because the first one is impossible. Rest in peace. But if it was possible to get Ray Emery on for a conversation,
oh yeah,
that would have been number one by a mile. So it's obviously super unfortunate, the circumstances. So if I had to give you on a live person to come on Locked On Senators, if it was an honest conversation, because I feel like he's got some cliches up his sleeve, but if it was an honest conversation, wouldn't Dion Phaneuf make a phenomenal guest?
That's interesting. I wasn't expecting you to go that way. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I'd be down for Dion. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. Maybe we can get Meth on the horn and try to get him to put 2 and 2 together for it. Okay, 2 and 2, number 2.
Double Dion.
Sens. But no, I think that he's been around the National Hockey League for so long, was a part of a big team with the Sens, and I think he really kind of contributed to the culture of what went on around here. I think he'd be a fun guest, and obviously he's got a bit of Hollywood in him too, with his wife being in that scene. So I'm sure he's got a few good stories up his sleeve. So I'll say Dion Phaneuf, with Ray Emery not being available. Tim Wallen writes in saying, when the Sens are down a goal, their break glass in case of emergency pair is Brannstrom and Chabot. Do you think it should be Chabot and Sanderson instead, or do they both need the puck to be effective?
I mean, at this point, it's worth trying. But the thing is, I don't like either of those guys playing on their offside. And I'd like to spread those guys out. But if it's one of those things where you're just getting destroyed and you're trying to gain some momentum here, sure, I would give it a try. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it as well. I don't think you can try anything that would make me upset when it comes to Brannstrom, Sanderson, and Chabot. Any of those three guys, when you're down a goal late, just try to, you know what, put the brinket on the back end when you need a goal down late. I say that tongue in cheek, but no, I'd be happy to try that for sure. Michael asks, if you could try to nail down the Sens' early season struggles to two things, what would they be?
The top one, and Jack mentioned this on our postcast, Jack Richardson from Future Sickos, and Ian Mendez mentioned this in his article. Sure, the Senators' power play percentage as a whole looks good, but they don't get key momentum power play goals. Like, they just don't do it. So I think that's the number one thing in my mind, is if the Senators could get momentum power play goals, I think you'd have a couple games, at least 3 or 4 games, that have a different outcome here. So that's going to be my number one. I'll pass off the second one to you, Ross. This will be a 2-parter.
Yeah, so you're just saying like failing to convert at key times is one. Yeah, it really feels like that. The other simple one for me is just like the miscommunication in the defensive zone. I mean, it was pretty clear in the last game that Zub just went to the wrong end of the net, and it just feels like there's a lot of times where everyone's kind of looking around, being like, "Wait, was I supposed to be here or there, or was I like were we supposed to switch there?" Just feels a little unorganized in their own zone.
Agreed.
Next, or did you have another one there?
No, that's 2. We'll do 2. Yep.
Yep, that's great. Brett asks, what's the second best restaurant in Ottawa? Which, of course, he knows that we love Shawarma Palace. I'm on record saying it's the best shawarma in the continent of North America. I'm going to go with Glebe Central Pub.
Yes, that is the right answer. I was ready for that one if you didn't have it. So Glebe Central Pub, definitely. Well, no, we can have a tie. We'll have a tie. Shawarma Palace and Glebe Central Pub are tied.
Yeah, or we could just say the best place to have a drink is Glebe Central Pub.
True.
You get some great pub food there. But like Shawarma Palace is Shawarma Palace.
It's the Palace.
Like I'd imagine Dave when he's getting ready for his shift at Glebe Central Pub is eating a Shawarma Palace.
Yeah, while waiting on a farm to fork delivery for the restaurant.
Exactly. Dennis, what changes in the Sens on ice systems would you make? I mean, we kind of already touched on that. Like get everyone on the same page in the D zone. I'd probably do a little bit less dump and chase as well. I'd like a little bit more skill, a little more creativity being allowed. But then you can see that going too far. Like a guy like Drake Batherson, who's just been trying to do way too much in terms of individual skills, and same with Timmy at times this season. But that's probably something that's D zone for me is getting guys on the same page. And you know what? I'll throw a secondary one out there. How about practicing the 6-on-5 a little bit better and trying to get pucks funneled towards the net instead of just playing ring around the rosy and passing it around the perimeter.
Agreed.
So, no, I'm not answering any more 22 questions. I'm sorry. What's going to happen with the Brinket? Pierre LeBrun reported today, actually, I'm glad this was brought up, that his agent said that they've had preliminary discussions, but nothing that he would really consider as negotiations on a new contract. What do you think the Sens are going to do with Alex DeBrincat?
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like the Senators and DeBrincat are in a weird stage in their relationship right now. Like, I don't think, like, neither one is overly committed just yet, I would say.
It's like you're staying over at your significant other's house, but you're still bringing your own toothbrush. You're still packing an overnight bag. You're not leaving things in the drawer just yet. You just come and you take them in the morning. You're like, hey, am I going to be back here? It's fun, but am I going to be back?
Yeah, sure. I like that.
All right. So Hannah asks, I like this one too. Which two Sens players would make the best team on the Amazing Race?
I
I like
love this question. I love it.
creative.
My first thought is Brady and Timmy, just because that would be all time content. But if are we talking best content or who would make it the farthest?
Who would make it the furthest? We want winners on this show.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay,
Not Brady and Timmy. They
no,
would not be winners.
no, it'd be hilarious, but it wouldn't be the best. You got to have Claude Giroux in there. You need one serious person that is just like, I don't care what anyone else is doing. We're focused on our game plan and going. So Claude Giroux, and bilingual, that helps out in the Amazing Race. You need to know different languages. The second thing, anytime where I'm thinking about Amazing Race, I'm like, who can drive stick shift in a car? Because I feel like that always ends up like they go to Europe and none of the cars are automatic, and it's like two girls that can't drive stick. Well, I shouldn't shame the girls. I can't drive stick either. So two people that can't drive stick, and everyone's just zooming by them, and they're just stalling in the slow lane. So Claude Giroux and whichever one of the guys on the Sens can drive a stick. That's my
Well,
answer.
a Euro.
Yeah.
So Forsberg, Brandstrom, Sens don't really have many Euros on the team.
No, they really don't. Or a farm. They have any farm guys? Farm guys usually can take care of that.
Yeah, I mean, are you calling up Cole Reinhardt?
Yeah, let's get Cole Reinhardt up here. Okay, no, for my final answer, I will go with Claude Giroux and
I know there's not a whole lot of good answers here.
let's go Tyler Mott. I feel like Tyler Mott could get things done.
Yeah, I was thinking Tyler Mott. I
Okay,
was also
Claude Giroux and Tyler Mott, my answer.
Mathieu Joseph, because there'd be nothing lost in translation. They just go on français the whole time. But
Yeah.
he seems well traveled. If you take one look at
True.
Mathieu Joseph social media, well traveled young man. So I think those two could have a good one. Great question, Hannah. We're
Yeah,
getting
I like
back
that.
to more from this great thread of questions. But first, Pilsy, let's hit one last break. Say hello to one of our favorite sponsors. We'll be back with a few more questions and then a full game day preview. You are listening to the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day. Friday edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan. For more, you can check out our YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. We have content for you Monday through Friday right here on the Locked On Senators podcast. And if the Sens play on a weekend, well, we got the postcast there too. So you can join us not only tonight after the game on our YouTube channel. Again, why you have to put the notifications on. You'll know when new videos go live. When we go live, usually about 15 minutes after Senators game. We like to listen to DJ first and then jump in.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. And Ross, we need you back in the postcast. The chat was lighting up saying we miss Ross, and I'm not going to take that personally. I do what I can here, but I cannot drive the bus like you. See, I should not be on the Amazing Race. Can't drive a stick, can't drive the bus, not bilingual. Wouldn't be a good scene for me. I'm scared of heights, so the Amazing Race, I would be so bad at that.
That's hilarious. I will be back on the postcast tomorrow. I like what Joe Bell said, though. Everyone should call Locked On, bump up our salary. I'll just quit my other job. We'll just do this.
Sure. Works for
All
me.
right. Everyone, go find the president.
Although the good people of Winnipeg would be losing out on their great updates.
It's all right. You know what? You win
That's
some.
a sacrifice you're willing to make?
Let's get back to the mailbag question. There seems to be a lot of focus on accountability with the head coach. What accountability on why the team isn't performing should be passed on to the assistant coaches?
See, I like this question because I feel like the assistants kind of just skate by here. I haven't liked the Sens assistant coaches in a long time. And remember, this is going back, but remember in the Guy Boucher days when the assistants were so bad, well, Ubergate, just watch the Ubergate video, but they were so bad, Guy Boucher was just like, hey, how about you guys just switch jobs and see what happens? Like, they switched from defensive coach and PK and then switched to forwards and power plays just because it was so bad it couldn't get any worse. And look, no offense to Jack Capuano, and is it David Payne is the other one?
Davis
Payne. My apologies there. It's not doing it for me. And I really don't want a situation where if DJ is let go, that Jack Capuano just takes over like we had the Mark Crawford with Guy Boucher. I don't want that. I feel like this whole kind of coaching regime could use some fresh faces and voices.
Yeah, I also think that it would be worthwhile if maybe we start referring to it as just the coaching staff, because I think they're all one team. They're all on the same page, and DJ's giving the marching orders for the assistant coaches as well. So I think that maybe the accountability for us is, instead of singling out one coach, they're all on the same page. They're all reading the same script. So I think that's a good question.
Although I'll give Zach Burke a pass. I've liked Zach Burke, and we do hope that he's feeling better after he suffered a concussion in practice. So I'm not sure if he's back with the team yet, but definitely looking out for Burke there.
What would be the first move you make if you had Pierre Dorian's job? This is from Jimmy Stew. Who are the guys down in the AHL you'd like to see get some ice time this year? I would imagine he means NHL ice time.
Look, this is an interesting question because I feel like Pierre Dorion is in a weird spot right now. Like, either he stands pat and tries not to shake the ship too much, or he makes desperate moves to try to save his job and show new ownership like, hey, we were down and out, but I saved things, or I righted the ship. You want me around, kind of thing. Personally, I don't think there's much Pierre Dorion should do right now, just because this season is so out of reach to get to the playoffs, and this draft is so massive. There's a handful of generational talent coming up that it's not worth it to try to mortgage the future to try to save this season. So if I'm Pierre Dorion, I'm doing minor moves just to shake things up, but not much here. And to answer the second part of this question, excuse me, I mean, I would give Igor a look here. Like, he's dominated down in Belleville. He's done a lot of things right in my mind. He's not just a heavy shot anymore. He's passing the puck a lot. He's getting more assists than goals these days. I would give Igor a look on that third line and bump Tyler Mott down to the fourth line. I think that could be something that could have some effectiveness here.
Yeah, I like that move at all, and it kind of touches on what Matty Gosens has in his next question. I think
Matty Persens.
Matty Persens. Wow, he's mixing it up. It used to be Matty Gosens. Come on, at TrueFanNet. He's mentioning that the scoring leaders in Belleville, Lucchini, Sokolov, and Chartier. But for me, and call me biased, I don't really care. Crooker's my second guy to call up, because they just need a straight line player who can get up and down the ice, cause havoc, be a pest. And you know what, Parker Kelly? I actually have liked the fourth line a little bit better the last couple of games. I think they've been banging bodies a lot better. But for me, if and when Parker Kelly either needs to sit down for a little while or there's an injury on the fourth line, Crooker would be my guy there. And if it's in the top 9, Igor would be the easy call.
I just think it's better for Crooker to keep him in Belleville just because he's missed so much time. Like, let him keep consistently here. And Parker Kelly, I think, I don't think he should play every game. Like, I think he should be a plug-and-play guy. So if you brought up one of those guys, I think that allows that to happen a little more effectively.
And the last one we're going to touch on here from Frankie Sens. We need a candy bar power ranking. Should we do a Mount Rushmore or just 1, 2, 3? I feel like I have so many favorites that I don't know if I can put them in order. You know, I don't want to hurt anybody.
I know your top one, and you know your top one.
Well, now I'm second guessing it. It's Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. Every single drive we've done to Belleville, you've gotten Reese's Pieces or a Reese's Pieces Blizzard.
Honestly, like, it's not candy, so I can't go with it, but Blizzard would be my number one treat.
This guy mucks large blizzards like it's his job.
I pay for it after, but it's so good. It tastes unbelievable. The Reese's, but I don't get the Reese's Blizzards. I get the Score Blizzards.
Yeah, Score Blizzards is awesome. Yeah,
Score Blizzards. Okay, so Reese's Pieces is my number one. Why don't we do a draft for our power ranking? So we aren't just saying, like, you like Reese's, I like Reese's. You like Snickers, I like Snickers.
Well, you lead into mine. Mine is Snickers, and not because it's the all-time best, but just it's old reliable. Like, I don't think I've ever had a Snickers bar and been like, not feeling this right now. Like, it's just It's got everything. It's got the peanuts, the chocolate, the caramel. It's got it all. Like, what more do you need from a candy bar? So Snickers is my choice.
Okay, you can take a third one as well because we'll do snake draft.
Okay. No, I need to think about this one. Snickers
Okay,
was my top one.
you can snap it back over to me. If
I'll
you want.
snap it back over to you. Yeah,
I'm ready.
I need to look at a list here.
I'm going with peanut M&Ms. I mean, that's just such a classic. You just grab a handful, you chew away. It's got the crunch, it's got the chocolatiness. It's a peanut M&Ms all day, every day. And bonus points, throw it in some trail mix with cashews, almonds, and you are cooking with fire. But if we're just going the candy portion, peanut M&Ms.
Okay, I got next one. Twix.
I think you can tell I like M&Ms or peanuts. I got Reese's Pieces and peanut M&Ms. You're going with Twix?
Twix. I love me some Twix bars. That good old
I don't hate
wafer.
it. I can't say.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot my third pick. Can I do the snake?
Go ahead.
Bueno bars from Kinder. If you guys have not tried Bueno bars, they are, well, as the namesake says, bueno, mucho bueno. Look at me, I'm bilingual. I gotta give myself some credit here. Yeah, yeah, si, senor. Cervezas. Bueno actually might be my top one now that I'm thinking about it. The Bueno bars, and as a guy with German heritage, whenever I went over to Germany for Christmas, I would just get Kinder eggs, Bueno bars. Hippos are another one. Hippos are hard to find, but they're very good. Haribo gummies, all those things are so amazing. But Buenos, if you have not tried them, go to a convenience store right now and get one.
Okay. I might have to do that later today because I don't know when the last time I've had one is.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing. But quick disclaimer while we wrap up the candy bar discussion. Really, guys? Oh, okay, finish that and then I'll do the wrap up.
Lindt Lindor.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Delicious. Decadent. Like you can only have one or two. They're so rich, but the way they melt in your mouth, unbelievable. Lindt Lindor.
Ferrero Rochers at Christmas, they pop off, but that's not a candy bar. So I think that should be eliminated. But guys, if you want a candy bar, why don't you reach for something healthy? The protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Check out Built Bars.
Oh, look at you. Little free ad there. Not free ad. They've been so good to us over the years. We love our friends over at Built Bar. All right, game day preview for the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, yeah. The Senators play.
They play a game, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. We'll see the Big Apple. Hopefully the boys had a good time last night. They need a little bit of team bonding never hurt. Clearly it helped them in the West Coast, the second half of it at least, getting a couple wins back-to-back, road win. How many times have they won back-to-back games on the road under DJ Smith? Probably not many. So
no.
Good to see that. They come home, they drop an egg against the New York Rangers in a game like they played well at times, but the breakdowns, letting Kreider just stay all alone in front of the net for the back-breaking 3-1 goal with only 10 minutes left. Like, if there's a player on that team who you're circling in the pre-scout, hey, when this guy's in front of the net, move him. It's probably the guy who scored 50 goals last year as a power forward.
Yeah, and that's why that goal infuriated me, Ross, because, look, miscommunication is one thing, but it's absolutely insane that the miscommunication was both players moving away from Chris Kreider. Like, it should have been both players going on Chris Kreider. That should have been the miscommunication. So that one for me was unforgivable and really, it didn't make me mad. It disappointed me, Ross. That's where I'm at.
Even worse, hey?
Yes, even worse.
All right, so let's get to our keys to victory to start, and then we'll go through each team.
Keys to improvement, Ross, is where we're at again here. I'm sticking with the same one because I still think the Rangers took the lead here, but it wasn't dominant fashion, and the Sens were still in this game and had a chance to come back here. So I know maybe I sound like a broken record, but it's the same team back-to-back games, so I don't think it's that crazy to go for the same key here. But if and when you get down up against the Rangers, keep that pressure going, because I still think this team could have come back and could have at least got this game to overtime, because I thought Cam Talbot played pretty well. So, and Cam Talbot will be the starter again tonight. So that is my key to improvement, is unlike last time, keep that foot on the pedal up against the Rangers when you're down.
Both teams are playing their second of 3 games in 4 nights. Both teams have a game tomorrow, which makes me wonder, will we see Igor Shesterkin tonight? Probably would be my guess, even though Yaroslav Halak got his first win with the Rangers yesterday. I'm going to stick with my key to victory from last time pretty similarly because they did it. Still didn't win, but they did it. They really controlled the special teams battle in terms of not allowing the Rangers. Sure, they didn't capitalize on their own, so maybe I'll focus more on the Senators aspect of you got to score on the power play. Like
Right.
a team like the Senators, who is more offensively gifted than defensively, you have to take advantage of your opportunities, and it's kind of unacceptable the way that their power play they're able to get control most of the time. There's one power play where they didn't do anything against the Rangers, but they're not putting pucks on net. Like they're just kind of passing it around. Oh, it looks pretty. Let's just go around the top and fanning on shots and getting shots blocked. But they need to be able to get it down low. That bumper play that was there early on in the season, we haven't seen that in the last handful of games at least. So I'd like to see that. Maybe a Pinto goal off a bumper play would be the backbreaker that they need here. I wonder if Pinto's boys are going to be coming down now that they're at
Yeah.
MS right around the
Yeah.
corner from Newark.
Hopefully. And to kind of add to that point, Ross, is take a look at how the Rangers got it done here. Nice, low, tippable point shots. Like, that's the one thing the Senators' power play is so terrible with. And sure, we have puck-moving defensemen, but no one, like Branny, Sanderson, and Shabbat, they're just not able to get those shots through, and they don't utilize the point shot seemingly whatsoever. So I think that's something the Sens need to get at here is stop with the Hamonic clappers, stop with the constant puck cycling, like get it to the point and just try to get pucks on net through there. Like you got guys like Brady Tkachuk in front of the net. They put Cassidy on the second power play unit here, so he's going to be a guy that's wreaking havoc in front of the net, a big body that's going to be screening the goalie. So why not go for that? It worked for the Rangers 3 separate times. Ryan Lindgren gets 3 assists in that game from point shots that start from point shots. So that's what I'd like to see the Sens work on here.
Derrick Brassard is out of the lineup tonight. Dylan Gambrell is in, and after the morning skate, this is how the lines looked. Tim Stützle at center between Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Shane Pinto between Alex DeBrincat and Drake Batherson. Dylan Gambrell between Tyler Mott and Mathieu Joseph. And Mark Kastelik, fourth line, second power play with Parker Kelly and Austin Watson. On defense, DJ saying, we'll figure it out before the game. Okay. Can't wait to see that. Shabbat and Zub, Sanderson and Hamonic, and Brandstrom with Holden was how it was on Wednesday. But again, 22's been called up. I've put him as an extra, as we hope. But we'll see what happens at game time. Cam Talbot is your starter. He is 3-6-0 on the season with a .257 goals against and a .918 save percentage. It's game 23 for the Ottawa Senators tonight, and it's their first visit to Madison Square Garden. Who is your locked-on player to watch tonight?
My locked-on player is going to be Artem Zub. And I think, look, we all love Zub. He's a fan favorite, but I'm starting to think that all the kind of eyes and people that are saying Shabbat hasn't played up to his standard, part of that needs to go towards Zub too. Like I mentioned how Brandstrom and Holden had great advanced analytics in Corsi specifically. Zub and Shabbat were god awful. Like I don't fully remember, but I think at the end of last game, their Corsi percentage was like 15 or 20%.
Yeah,
Like
it was brutal.
Like you can't get much worse. Like it was so bad. And this is like the New York Rangers didn't dominate the Sens. I think they had similar shot totals, if not even shot totals. So you cannot have your top pair where you put your top left shot guy and your top right shot guy together and they're this bad. That can't be happening. And I know Zub maybe is still lingering injury, but I feel like it's been enough time that shouldn't be affecting him anymore. Or if it is, he shouldn't be playing up in the lineup as much as he is. So I'm going to be locked on to Artem Zub here because if this decor is going to have any chance of putting together a decent effort, the top guy on the right side is going to have to play well. So Artem Zub is my locked on player.
The top pair as well. Shabbat had a bad game.
That's I totally realize that, but I'm just saying I feel like all of us have kind of piled on Shabbat. Like maybe we need to start keeping an eye on how Zub's playing too here.
Yeah, 100%. Both of them to me just need to be better. Hamonick's
Yep.
been awful as well. Like
Very
their
bad.
only bright spot on the decor right now. And Branstrom's been decent. Again, looks good, doesn't produce, kind of looks like the Sens in
Yeah.
terms of getting results. 3 assists in 22 games now. Um, but at the same time, I'm going to go to another guy who's struggling. I'm going up front, Drake Batherson. Like that
Yeah.
giveaway on the second goal, his second goal, right? Yeah. Unacceptable. He's able to get it back right away with a nice little feather play to Pinto on the lone Sens goal. He's a much better player than we've seen over
Yep.
the last stretch. So I'm just betting on the history of him to be able to break out eventually. But right now, he looks like he is fighting it. On the offensive side, he's trying to do too much. Did you see the freeze frame from last game where he literally was in all alone on the goalie and he did a drop pass?
Yeah, he's been making the no look passes like
It's
way too
brutal.
often here. Yeah.
It's brutal. All right, let's take a look at the New York Rangers, who are now 11-9-4 on the season, 5-4-1 in their last 10 games. Their top line is Mika Zibanejad between Chris Kreider and Jimmy Vesey. They've got Philip Hedl in between Artemi Panarin and Capo Caco, Vinny Trocheck between Alexi Lafreniere and Vitaly Kravtsov, and Barclay Goodrow between Sammy Blais and Julien Gauthier. On the back end, Ryan Lindgren with Adam Fox, Keandre Miller with Braden Schneider, and Zachary Jones with Jacob Trouba. Igor Shesterkin is expected to start after sitting out Wednesday, but Yaroslav Halak got a get-right game against Ottawa, winning his first in his 7th appearance of the season. You see, I haven't changed the date. Way to go, me. But, hey, it's a home and home. What am I going to do? Going to figure it out. I took out the 3-game losing streak, which the Rangers were able to
Credit to
take.
you.
What's your lookout player look like today?
My lookout player is going to be all-star point-producing defenseman Ryan Lindgren. Like, for Rangers decor where everybody looks to Fox won the Norris last year, right?
Yes.
I think so. Either way, he's a Norris finalist.
That's a safe way to put it because I think it was Cale Makar. It was Cale Makar. Adam Fox won it the year before, though.
Okay, I knew he had one in his resume there. So you look at Norris Trophy guy, you look at Jacob Trouba, you look at Keandre Miller coming up here, and Ryan Lindgren, I thought, was their best defenseman last night. Well, no, Fox still had a really good game, so I shouldn't say that. But that pair together were so good, and Lindgren gets his first 3-point night. He's a solid player. John Chick tried to tell us, like, hey, don't overlook this guy. He's really good. And then he has a career night up against the Sens. So shout out John Chick from Locked On Rangers for that one. But that's going to be my locked on player because not only was he good offensively, and Ross, I mention this all the time, I love the defensemen that are able to feather that puck in and able to have their forwards tip it, get rebounds, all that kind of stuff. That had great success. But he's so good defensively too. Like he blocked that DeBrincat shot, and man, that must have hurt. That's for sure. He was down and out for a bit there, but he's a good two-way defenseman that would look nice on the Ottawa Senators. I'm a bit jealous.
Oh, he's such a warrior. He plays well in his own zone. He got 3 primary assists in
Yeah.
that game. He's just such a stud out there on the ice. Alfie, clearly a big fan of his as well. Zip it! Sorry. This dog is going absolutely banana lands. I don't know what to do about him. You want to take it away, Pills?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if I'm the New York Rangers, if we're sticking on their lineup here, and I'll lead Ross into his lookout player, but I'm going back to Halak. Like, why wouldn't you? You got a back-to-back. The other team is Chicago. Halak was able to stop this Sens team. It's sad that when you're looking at who the opponents are looking to put their backup goalie against, they go with the Ottawa Senators in back-to-back games when Chicago is on the other side of that. But I don't blame teams for doing that now. That is a smart decision. The Ottawa Senators cannot and pretty much have not been able to beat backup goalies here. And Ross, we are officially counting that as we're starting the backup goalie stat again, sadly, for the Ottawa Senators. So keep an eye on that as that's something we're going to be tracking for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll get into that more on Monday's show, but I'm going to be looking out for Chris Kreider, over a point per game in his last 16, has 9 goals, 8 assists over that span. He was their undoubted offensive leader last year, even with Panarin. He was the guy who scored 50 goals, and yeah, the goal total's not there. I don't think anybody would think that he'd be a guy who scores 50 again this season, but he's still producing, and he had the insurance goal in Wednesday's game. He had 5 shots as well. And he's just a guy you need to be aware when he's on the ice, because he's the kind of guy who can run you over, but he's also got slick hands too. So I'm gonna be looking out for Chris Kreider in tonight's game.
Yep, that's a good one.
All right, postcast coming up right after the game tonight. It'll be Pilsy and at Lame's Martian. It's the 1-year anniversary of the postcast, and it's officially sponsored. Shout out to our friends at Glebe Central Pub. Any final thoughts before we go, Pills?
Final thought for me, just a bit of a shout out. I had a nice couple come into Black Bellows Bar yesterday. Shout out Sarah and Colin, and they're asking me, "Hey, what do you do anything else for work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a little podcast going." And he's like, "Oh, my cousin Jack is a huge Sens fan. Maybe he's heard of the podcast." And of course, Jack knew the podcast right away, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Pilsy." So it's nice coming in when people come in and they know the pod, because I tell people at work and they're just like, "Oh yeah, he's got a little podcast here." But no, Locked On Senators, it's got reach. It's got global reach, as we know. So that was a nice little hat tip to me. So shout out Jack, Colin's cousin. And if you guys are in Collingwood, in the Blue Mountains, come stop by Black Bellows for a quick pint.
Awesome. Absolutely love hearing that. And we love hearing from you as well. And we'd like to do more of it. So you can either leave a note in the comments on YouTube or hit us up on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators. For today, we say goodbye. We'll chat in the postcast. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.